Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another game of Shadows of Austin in Mage the Awakening, second edition. Tonight, we currently have individuals still hanging out at the block party, with one Alice and one Ares currently there grabbing some dinner for a date, and uh, Fire Vitae coming around for the first part of the evening's festivities. There's food, people playing music on stages. In the background, you have some games. Some people are in costume. Others are just enjoying themselves. For her part, Alice only has her black hair bow in, and otherwise is wearing a more normal blue sundress with white trim and a Peter Pan collar as she walks with a purse rather than her backpack over one shoulder next to Aries. And here we are again. She nudges Aries a little bit.
Yep, here we are again. So, um, are you sure you're okay?
Hmm? Definitely. I mean, there's a couple of little restaurant booths around here that I wanted to try.
Alright. No, I mean, like earlier, you were acting a little funny about, me.
Oh, you mean the whole entire looking at you like you're some sort of walking succulent mystery? I have
I
no
like
idea what you're
being called,
talking about.
I like being called succulent, but the mystery part is a little unnerving.
Well, given my current position in the Mysterium, all I have to say is at least I'm not locking you in the vault yet.
Is that a joke? I hope it's a joke.
I'm your Cabal mate.
Mm, I know. I like the dress.
Oh, thanks, she says, doing a slight twirl.
Mm. So, what's so special about this bistro?
Oh, well, the food is good, appetizers are amazing, and if you've never had duck all around,
Hmm. Then I'll go by your lead. Whatever you say is good.
it works for me. Hey, is that Fire Vitae?
Uh, head goes up.
And Fire is checking out probably one of the um food vendors, getting herself something to eat.
Oh, Aries would wave. Hello.
Oh, hey there. She'll pay for her food and come on
Mhm.
over. What's up?
Alice was Alice was showing me a new place. And I figured we come here to get a bite to eat. What brings you here?
Oh, the festivities and food and food, not from where I work, actually.
Everything okay, Alice?
Everything's fine. Just wanted to look at you.
Okay.
Mm.
He'll smile and yeah. What all did you get?
Me?
Yes.
Oh,
Mm.
I just got a burger and some fries. And oh, look at this. It's like a taco, but there's lamb meat and some kind of yogurt sauce.
Oh, looks good. Do you come here often?
Not really. No.
Hmm.
Ahem.
Yeah. Looking over at Fire Vita. Not Fire Vita, but Alice, sorry.
She'll clear her throat for a second.
Mm.
So, you're going to tell us anything more about what you were doing at the market?
Who,
Oh.
me?
No, she points over at Aries.
Uh, it's new. I got the flyer, so I sort of went. It was a cool. Met some cool people. It was pretty fine. I think. There's this guy named Frozen Spring, who gave me his card. Apparently he works for the district attorney, but that was about it.
Wait, the district attorney?
Mhm.
You mean like the Omega lawyer of the city?
Mhm.
And that's no big deal given your profession.
Um, particularly because the type of law that I do is a bit different than his. Sort of like passing ships in the night, if you will.
All right. Well, we should grab our bite to eat too.
Yeah, I think that'll be cool.
She'll start walking over to one of the other trucks.
And you said Frozen Spring?
Yeah, Frozen Spring.
Huh. Interesting.
He was a bit eccentric, but mostly I suppose okay. I wasn't expecting him to at a place such as this, but we all have secrets, I guess.
I guess.
Some secrets are bigger than others, it seems.
Massively. I'll try not to poke him pride, looking at Alice and cocking a smile.
Not try to poke and pry. You know that I only have your best interests at heart.
I'll take that in the tone that it was given.
Aw,
But you're always good fun.
I like to think I'm the best.
I agree.
Alice will get some truffled fries and a delicious looking sandwich from them.
Sort of follows her lead. Eats a bit on the healthier side.
She looks at it, looks at his healthy choices,
Hmm.
and then frowns slightly. We're at a festival. Aren't you going to eat a little bit more daringly?
I don't want to have cardiac arrest if it's all the same to you. Besides, I already had a whole bunch of grease for lunch.
I didn't think it was that bad. Hmm.
It was it was a cheeseburger with bacon and this very delicious hollandaise sauce on the side and cheesy fries. That's enough grease to kill a small, mammal.
Crosses her arms.
So, this kind of isn't any of my business, but I'm curious now.
What's that?
Are you guys a couple?
Huh? He just says, huh? Like, gives you like the anime stare. Like, huh?
Well, I mean, he did ask me on just this one date.
Yeah.
Oh, this is a date. Why? Wait.
Huh? You just see like a deer headlights. Like, wait, what? Like,
Wait, this is a date. I don't know that I'm down to be a third wheel for you guys if this is actually a date.
Whoa, his hair changed, babe.
Well, I mean, you're great company, and we do need to talk to you a little bit about something.
Oh, about what?
We were hoping to talk to you about working more closely with our cabal.
I
Aries
mean,
nods enthusiastically. Grateful for the change in conversation.
I guess I could. I don't really have one right now, but I don't know. Do you think I'd be a good fit?
Well, for now, mostly as an outside consultant. You have a unique set of skills that our cabal could utilize. And I'm sure that there's certain services that we could provide in exchange.
Probably, yeah. So what skills are you after?
She'll motion to take a seat before kind of glancing around. Her eyes settling on Jun Yi.
Xianyi. He is not too far. He's just coming out of a line. Looks like he just bought himself a beer. He is obviously Asian descent. He is wearing like the traditional Chinese shirt, the ones that you tie down instead of a button that you see in the picture. But he's paired it with like just good old fashioned worn in blue jeans and a pair of sneakers. And it looks like he's kind of covered in a very lean muscle.
Mr. Yi. Hmm. Member of the Adamantine Arrow?
Kind of looks around for a moment and settles on you. And, yeah.
She'll tilt her head to the side. I'm surprised to see you around here. Is there something amiss?
Yeah. This beer is way too expensive.
She's passive-faced at that joke.
No business, just pleasure.
Oh, Aries will sort of kind of lift his water to you in a hello fashion.
He lifts his beer.
Would you like to join us?
Sure. He comes in and takes a seat.
We were just talking about working more closely with other members of the city outside of our cabal.
Mm.
I see.
It's been a little interesting with this, but there's this group of people walking around with defacing certain members of the Concilium and the other awakened folk around, milling bullet to the eyes and things.
Yeah.
Pretty ghastly stuff.
Defacing is a horrible pun there.
I wasn't making a pun, like you. His face was actually missing.
Oh, okay. No, I just thought like someone like spray painted someone's face or something. No, you literally defaced. Okay, I get it.
Wow.
One Argus was. We're not sure who was the attackers, but they kept him alive, only to remove a hand in his eye.
So it's not just those of us in the Concilium that are being targeted.
I think it's all of us. Bye, guess.
When we say all of us, you mean
The Pentacle. We're not sure if they're targeting any seers. We haven't confirmed the presence of any seers in the city yet. It's suspected some are operating out of City Hall.
You don't think if they are there, they could be tied up in this, do you?
It's a strong possibility, but we haven't ruled out all previous or prior consortments yet. There's still a lot more leg room left to do.
Not to mention, some of the stuff was removed from our reach by the Hierarch and the Counselors. Well, not beyond all of our reach, she says, looking over at Fire Vitae.
Ah.
That disc we talked about earlier.
Yeah, I suppose I would be helpful in being able to get that kind of information.
And as always, I offer fair trade.
There is something I've been itching to learn more about.
Which would
But we
be
can discuss that later.
Right, we don't know if you'll be able to get any information because that disc was unusual. She looks over at Yi. For your benefit, the disc in question was found on Argus when we stumbled upon his body. It was some sort of device with a button that would create mystical interference. But it itself was not magical. Purely technological.
it was not, but it produced an effect like it.
Yes. Our peripheral sight was abuzz.
And it was a disc, like an optical disc with data. A literal just a disc with a button.
Yes.
It was a literal disc with a button and had data.
Yes. I believe so.
But we can't read the data.
Something's up with it.
And the disc proper was passed on to the Free Council.
And since Fire Vitae is the more easily accessible free counselor.
Most sociable. You don't need to butter it up.
Listen, this is what I do. I do it all day.
He does indeed. And one might say it's his greatest strength and greatest weakness.
I won't go that far. You don't know everything there is about me. Hence the mystery.
And don't I know it?
She's fun to tease.
She's just smiling at that.
So, would you be willing to help?
Yeah.
Very good.
I believe catching such perpetrators falls under your jurisdiction as well.
It does. If a more martial hand is needed.
By the looks of the bodies and what was found,
It
yes.
sounds like someone needs to be beaten.
Someone, yes, hard in the face.
And given how personally powerful Arcus was, it's not individuals we should take lightly.
Yeah, according to his cabal mates, he wasn't a slouch.
Physically or metaphysically?
In any sense.
Okay.
He was, according to them, he was extremely capable.
Gotcha.
Hmm.
Not to mention he was powerful enough to keep himself on death's door until we found him.
Strong, necrotic energy.
Hmm. The uppermost grunts.
See, that's what bothers me the most about that.
Looks disapprovingly and overmost.
Not the necrotic energy so much as the fact that they were keeping him alive.
Were they keeping him alive or was he keeping himself alive?
A little of both. Initially, they kept him alive for the surgical process, while they did put him into a state of passiveness, a passive state. They also took great pains to make sure he was alive and aware during the procedure. Afterwards, it was him keeping himself alive.
Okay.
The equipment they used was outdated, archaic, and while they had surgical skill, they used a melon baller to remove the eye rather than surgical tools.
The defacing part. They literally defaced him.
And for the hand, we're certain they used a very old, rusted bone saw.
Is this for the brutality of the act or because of the lack of supplies?
A little of both, I think.
We're just speculating at this point. They were masked when we looked at them through some backwards glances.
Gotcha.
We were wondering if it had anything to do with some of the news that was coming out about G-Men patrolling the city. And I mean, I don't know about you, but the police presence has definitely gone up.
Well, when there's shootouts happening in broad daylight and people turning up with chunks of their skulls missing, I think that's not a stretch of the imagination. That police presence would step up.
Wait, there were people with chunks of their skull missing?
Happened.
Yeah, it was on the police radio.
Alice has a quirked brow at the words police radio.
Certainly seems like you're a fountain of information.
You can pick up Police Scanner at Radio Shack.
You can download an app on your phone too.
You can do that as well.
Never thought to do that before.
It might be a good idea to invest in one for the office, that is.
Sure, I'll get right on it. Any thoughts of your own? Because it's baffling us.
I felt really bad that we had to leave his cabal in such a state and couldn't even provide like coherent answers to just pieces of a puzzle that we didn't fully understand yet.
You said he was put in a passive state. In what way?
Think of it as a little bit like a coma almost.
Induced coma through medication.
Okay.
Though I really don't understand like the technical lingo behind coma, but the way it was explained to me, it was a coma-like state.
But it was done medically.
I believe so.
Yes.
Probably for the pain.
I would assume so. Having things like scooped out of you seems to be a very painful act.
Yeah. You can die
But-
from pain.
Yes, shock.
But they kept him aware enough that he could see what they were doing to him.
That implies that someone hated him.
Or a degree of malice.
They hated him for some reason. Whatever the reason might be, we may not know.
Is it possible they needed him in a certain mental state?
Never thought of it that way. I'll follow you down that rabbit hole. What makes you think that?
It's an alternative explanation. I mean, certainly malice is on the table, and so are people hating them, but this doesn't seem like the kind of crime that you commit just because you hate someone. It was too methodical.
It doesn't mean that he doesn't hate him. It just means that that's not the only rationale.
Motive.
It's not the only
Yeah.
motive. There's a purpose behind it, but hatred is. It takes a certain kind of person. Either they're absolutely deranged, or they're feeling a lot of passion against someone to do something like that.
Do you think it could be linked to the sloppiness that's been going around as of late? The police reports and things on the news have been a little troubling.
I don't believe in coincidences.
Maybe, I don't know, not to point any fingers, maybe someone was a little sloppy. Tipped too many people off.
You think maybe their cabal drew some unwanted attention?
Or they're trying to cover it up, or someone hasn't come forward yet, being how at the last concilium meeting, someone was publicly executed.
Oh, that's right. The Lich.
Yeah.
We were told to report anything we see to the Guardians, and that we should be watching each other very closely, because that Lich was able to infiltrate deep into our city.
I understand the necessity, but it can be a very slippery slope.
She has a half smile. The Hierarch is very
So,
heavy-handed.
Fantastic.
yep. Welcome. Airy smiles.
Maybe so much seems to be happening right now. Well, like I said, it does conveniently justify the uptick in police presence. But it's entirely possible some folks just want our eyes elsewhere.
Do you think that they spoke something they shouldn't have, Alice?
My current guess is that it's not it's not someone in the Concilium proper. It's someone outside of it. Maybe some nameless orders. Maybe members of the Lich's cabal, if he had one, seeking revenge.
How much of the history do you know?
Given that the three of us have been here some of the longest, about as much as you.
Hmm.
Which is to say, probably not enough.
Understood.
Well, they left him to be found, right?
Yes.
So they're sending a message of some kind.
But not easily found, so anyone would have been able to stumble across him. They left him in a little underground cave in the park with a boulder blocking the entrance.
Who found him?
We did. Well, we, meaning me, Alice, and my other cabal mate.
And what were you doing down in the cave with the boulder blocking it?
We were hired to find him. She pulls a card out of her purse and slides it over. It has a little mirror on one side, and on the other side it says, "Through the Looking Glass Investigations."
Cute.
We have an investigative service.
We find things that otherwise individuals overlook or don't bother looking.
I see.
keep the card if you ever need our services. We're more than happy to do good work for the order, for the adamantine arrow.
I will.
Hmm.
Oh, that brings up the point of one of the skills we were talking to Fire Vitae about. There's been something strange, mystically speaking, happening with some of the storms in the city.
Okay.
Can't tell you much beyond that, but we're certain it falls outside of our normal purviews of what my cabal's capable of.
Ah, I see. I've been wanting to look into that too.
What skill do you need?
Well, specifically someone who has the specialties that the Thyrsus are known for. That's
Sorry,
about
say that one more time.
the skills that the Thyrsus are known for.
Okay.
Some of the only areas that my cabal is not skilled in. By process of elimination, we've narrowed it down to that. Not to mention, our cabal mate Zabanya pointed out that she had encountered a strange creature, a spiritually enhanced vampire. It's apparently hostile and managed to escape and flee into the city, currently at large. I'm not sure if that'll interest the arrow, but if it does.
Is he a threat to the Concilium?
He tried to kill a Concilium member.
Then the answer to your question is yes. He's of interest.
Yep.
Well, then I'm glad to have passed on the information. Oh, and on another note, it seems that there are other creatures in the city, shapeshifters of some kind. Zabanya encountered one while she was hunting the vampire.
Wolves, I believe. I've overheard a few of them. They don't seem much to care about subtlety.
Oh, well, this one's name is Seamus.
You don't say.
Bruh.
Hope those connects those dots. He looks at Fire Vitae.
The wolf's name is Seamus?
Yes.
I met a Seamus. Don't know if it's the same one.
Human who can turn into a bigger human, howls a lot and wears biker leathers.
Don't know about turning into a bigger human, and didn't howl when I was around him. But his friends were definitely not subtle.
Curiouser and curiouser, she says, looking over at Ares. Care to share with the class what you know?
Well, but I was able to piece together When I went to the markets the first and second time, there was talks and there was a lot of pieces of information, but it seems to believe that a lot of individuals were very keen on be up to something or very subtly aggressive. That also leads to the rationale that there might be more to them that meets the eye. Just how they seem to interact with one another and how they answer and reply to questions. Very forward and aggressive, but not in the sense of a challenge, but more of a sense of seeing how far they could push the line.
Trying to establish what?
I don't know, maybe a presence. It's all circumstantial at this point, but it just seems that, as you said before, Yi, uh, there's far too much of circumstantial evidence, and I'm not one that believes in, coincidences that I don't myself put in, that myself don't physically
Put into
push.
motion?
Exactly.
Well, by that point, it's no longer defined as coincidence, is it?
Nope.
I guess cutting a little more to the point. So, tonight, we're planning on also going to the market again. I say again because Ares decided to go off on his own without telling the rest of the cabal.
I was doing investigative work.
Oh, really? So you
Yes.
didn't take Zabanya at least?
I'm good at my job. It's not supposed to me sticks out his tongue. Like
Oh, how many cases have you won lately?
a few, a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I'm good.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Sure. Mm.
Rolls his eyes. Like,
I don't mean to pry, but are you two a couple?
God damn it.
You
There's no
act
such
like
thing as
it.
coincidence.
Just eats more food. Like I'm not even gonna dignify that shit with an answer.
Ares, I mean, the man asked you a question.
I asked you out today. Yes, this is a dickly a date.
Oh, so you are a couple.
I believe there's a little bit more to it than that.
Ah, okay. Oh, yes, because you act like a couple.
Oh, it disappeared. Fuck.
I never really thought of it that way, but she looks different to me at least.
Apparently, I've been upgraded from secretary.
You asked to be secretary, Alice. Like,
No, I understand. Put the cute blonde girl in the front.
the other. Okay, so it's either me and my abrasive ass, or it was Zabanya. You know how sociable she is.
Zavanya is incredibly sociable. Perhaps not in a positive way.
And Hannibal Lecter has a ferocious appetite. Really? Are we going to play this game?
Euphemisms exist for a reason.
But yes, we are in. We all have varying amounts of skill in different areas, but we try to get things done to the best of our abilities.
That's it.
He's being modest. We're rather successful at this point. We found Argus. We were able to recover the disc. And I believe we're the ones who are owed favors and have done some excellent work policing the outskirts of our city from danger.
I just believe that an ounce of sugar goes a little further than an ounce of gall, Ellis.
Well, now I'm here to apply force where necessary.
And now we're a big happy family, looks like.
Haven't seen much of the arrows lately, so it's good to see that there's one who's more frequently around, or at least available.
I'm looking to start a dojo.
No, it's Skinner, yes.
Huh.
Any
What do you
particular
practice?
style? She looks over at Harry.
I have studied taekwondo, kung fu, karate, some jet kundo, and soon I'll be looking into some jiu-jitsu and some aikido.
Oh boy.
Neat.
Alice is going to activate Focus Mage Sight for a second, kind of scan
God.
everyone present. Any fate or time
Yes.
effects?
On me, yeah. It's blinding.
Oh, she knows about that one, but
No.
Nope, no fate or time.
Nope.
None
Any
here.
active effects then she can't identify.
Almost the perfect.
It would just come up as magic.
Probably, yeah.
All right. She'll spend a point of mana to add prime. Any prime effects up?
Nope. Sorry, nope.
No one's sitting with any effects. Cool. She'll let it fade. So for a second, she's kind of staring intently at everyone, and then goes back to staring predatorily. Ferally. There we go. That's what I'm looking for. Like at Ares.
Why? He just looks at it like.
No reason.
So if either three of you wish to learn some self-defense, I am looking to teach.
I could probably stand to learn some self-defense.
Any secret techniques?
Do I know secret techniques? Is that what you're asking?
She nods.
You don't have to answer that.
I know several secret. I know several secret techniques.
Then we might be able to do business.
No.
A shame.
If you were an arrow, then I would say yes. But you are not. And therefore you cannot learn.
Oh, no secrets. He shoots like a balled up piece of paper into the trash.
Die. I want you to die. Yes.
She lightly punches his arm.
Ow. Like,
Don't
I
be a
told you.
wuss.
I'm not being a wuss. He has secrets. Leave him alone. Like,
Don't we all?
thank you.
Well,
If you
the
want
mis-
mundane secret techniques, you are not. Do you have any training in the martial arts at all?
they wouldn't be for me. They'd be for recording, for posterity's sake. Like time in the bottle.
Key is to ring him out.
I'm not sure that my techniques would translate well in that medium. Besides, go to a library. You can pick up many, many books on the martial arts.
True. But that's why I was asking about secret techniques. Things that the Mysterium would
I got something.
lock away.
Not until level 50.
That's so caliber though.
I'm mostly interested in learning stuff that flows nicely from one form to another. Especially if it can accommodate holding something. I guess like a chain weapon? Or maybe a fan?
You've seen too many movies.
Or too much Mortal Kombat, either or.
I mean, you say that, but I'm not really looking to use it offensively.
So you're looking more from like a dance.
Yeah.
I see what you're saying. Yeah. I know of some katas that would work. They're very flowy. We use them more for meditative purposes or a set of like rhythmic movements to kind of help focus the mind, and it can be very dance-like.
That is my jam.
I do several every morning to kind of bring myself out of the sleepy fog.
I just like to get caught up in the flow of the universal energy.
I get you.
Do you think calisthenics helps with that, or should I pick up something else?
Getting caught up in the flow of the universal energy?
I don't even know what you're even going on about. He just looks like.
I get it.
Something like, what is it? Key?
Yeah.
I guess you could call it that.
Everything flows. Everything in nature.
Agreed.
Even time.
Yeah,
That shit flows
You have a
like
point.
river.
I won't get that far, but time is something that's extremely subjective.
Electricity is very beautiful if you can see it.
Agreed.
The flow
I
of the
guess.
transition from potential to kinetic energy, gravity, it all flows.
If you're interested in that stuff. I find lightning is more a conflux of events happening simultaneously.
Are you hitting it hard enough?
Lightning strikes. is something I know very well.
Something
Stares
I find
approving. But
it's something I find difficult to understand.
stares approvingly and Obermos. Yeah.
Control weather, call lightning. Yes, yes, and yes. A lightning strike is beautifully destructive. It is a set of events that tumble like dominoes into a beautiful crescendo of light and sound.
I like the way you talk.
She nudges him slightly.
I know the forces of the universe well. I gaze upon them in a way that I couldn't before. And to see the way the world and the energies that encompass it kind of flow and crash together. It's majestic.
So you would say it's more of a movement, more of a feeling given form.
Absolutely. Nothing in nature is stagnant. It's always moving or changing.
Never thought of it that way. But that's perspective.
You take the simplest, take a cell phone, something that has become so banal and intrinsic to our environment that we overlook it or just pass it by as we see it. But inside that are tens, hundreds of traces of circuit boards and electricity flowing in all different directions in a pattern laid out by its developer. Through this interaction and its powering of small tiny devices that works on just the simplest principles of ones and zeros. It turns a text or a phone call and it sends it out in a wave that emanates from your phone. You can see it, you can track it, you can pluck it from the air, watch it go into space, and then return. It bounces to someone else's mundane, banal phone, but it goes into the line and takes that signal and moves it until it forms it to electricity into ones and zeros, and it pops up on your screen.
I have a feeling if it was you that taught my physics class, I would have passed the first time around.
Wait, you didn't pass physics the first time around?
No.
Truth be told, I hated physics until I could see it.
Point.
It's to hear a professor talk about it. It's just taking knowledge and passing it on, which can be beautiful in its own right. But when you learn to see the forces of the universe, I'm not passing on knowledge. I'm passing on an experience.
I'm about experiences.
Exactly.
Interesting.
You can sit at any gathering of people waiting, the DMV, the airport, the train station, and everyone's on their phones. If you have the right abilities, you can just lose yourself in the traffic of data and energy impulses, electricity flows. It is this beautiful tapestry of energy that no one can see.
Well, no one but us.
Not even all of us.
Some of us prefer seeing the strings that bind and lead and guide in different directions. You look closely and you can see that two people are tied together by strings they can't even conceptualize. Where you see ones and zeros and lightning, I see set pieces and props ready to come into motion in a moment when needed and disappear as the script demands.
Folks, Alice.
I'm noticing a pattern.
But here's the interesting thing. If you can see those strings and see that you're connected to those people,
Give me a bag.
what's to stop you from becoming a puppeteer?
Absolutely
Discipline.
nothing.
Discipline.
We are what we choose to be. Though sometimes things come and take us by surprise, she says, looking at Aries.
Talking at his food. Completely unaware.
And some things don't make sense until you can figure out what strings are there.
Hmm.
I find discipline and a strong moral code prevents it.
My order prefers a more ethical based system than morals, but I can see your point.
Ethical.
If it wasn't for discipline and a moral code that I truly believe in, I could be a very devastating force of destruction.
Well, you are a member of the Adamantine Arrow.
But I am.
Isn't it necessary to be a force of destruction often?
Absolutely.
A focused force of destruction. Applied under very, very strict guidelines.
I can agree with that.
Is it common for members of the Arrow to hold to such stringent standards?
Just as in any group, you have individuals. I was taught from a very young age the martial arts. I come from, my parents are from China by way of Okinawa. And the places where they're from, the father knew martial arts from his father, and his father taught his father and down. So I grew up learning martial arts from my father. And one of the first lessons that I was taught was before you can learn how to hit someone, you need to learn why it's necessary and when it is not necessary. So before you should throw a punch, you need to know if you should.
That's it's an interesting way to look at it.
Oh, she got me.
I'm sure that your free council feels a similar way when it comes to violence.
I think it really depends on who you talk to.
A healthy dose of fear and obedience goes a long way.
Yeah. Unfortunately, one of the if you should strike someone was if you messed up in your practices. There were swift strikes with a bamboo stick as a way of reinforcing some teachings.
So consequences.
When you're learning to defend yourself, it's a real motivator when you actually fail and you leave an opening if someone strikes you in that opening. You learn to defend against it real quick.
A fair point. Forgive me, I was raised in the South. I've always preferred Smith & Wesson and Colt.
Nah.
I get you. There's I grew up with martial arts, but I quickly learned that there are some things that you don't want to run up and punch, and you'd rather just shoot them from a distance.
Makes the job as a censor much easier.
Yeah. I've had adequate training in firearms.
Well,
Mostly provided by the arrow. It wasn't something I picked up before. I picked it up for its necessity, not for a like of it. It's loud, it's distracting, and it's crude. There's no elegance in it.
it's just a tool.
I think I get what you mean. But there's nothing like the feeling when you're in a fight.
Well, I get the sense of power one might feel when holding a weapon like that.
I'm not talking about weapons as much as I'm talking about I guess I'd say the adrenaline.
My biggest problem with stuff like that is it's not a power you've earned. It's a power you've taken.
Some things just need to be taken.
Earned or not, sometimes other people have earned something. It goes somewhere, and there are times and places for it. The Mysterium.
Did you want something to drink? I'll buy it.
Oh, sure. Sprite.
All right, I'll be right back. Did anybody else want something?
I'll take another beer.
All right. DJ? I'll get you some water. All right. So I'll be right back.
But I mean, the Mysterium. We've been arguing for centuries at this point. Every tool, earned or borrowed or stolen, has a place and needs to see the light of day. And then once it's done, it goes back where it came from, into a vault, ready to be used and called upon at a moment's notice.
To the point that I understand that. But anyone can pick up a gun and fire it. Now, if someone takes the time to understand the gun, to fully understand when a gun needs to be used and when it needs to be holstered, they understand the safety of it, they know how it functions, they can clean it, they've practiced with it, then by all means, you've earned the right to use that gun. You know when it should be used, you know how to use it, you know how to defend with it and protect with it. But anyone can just go buy a gun.
I see what you mean.
That's the problem with guns. I can, at a moment's cripple a man with my hands. That's not a skill you can pick up. A 12-year-old gangbanger can't just get that, but he can get a gun. He now has a destructive tool that he doesn't know how to use or why to use it. That's what I mean. It's a power that he hasn't earned. But just an opinion.
Okay, I see what you're getting at.
So
There's
that
some in
brings-
the era who would totally disagree with me and love guns and love getting big guns that make loud noises and blow things up from long range. To each their own.
So what do you think of political power?
That's more complex because political power in itself is a popularity contest. It is who likes you, or it could be a mixture of who has the most dirt. So it can get very messy, very unethical very quickly. But it's a
But-
power you have to nurture.
I think those are facets of it.
So would you say those in power, whether ethically or not, have earned their power and their position?
I think it's possible that they've earned their power and their position, yeah. It's not 100%. Some people are
So-
just born with a silver spoon in their mouth and a silver stick up their ass, and
Noticing a lot of silver references here.
most people in political power are also wealthy, come from money. There are no coincidences in life.
What about those who are born with a silver ladder?
I stay by my statement.
Some would argue that a silver ladder is nothing more than a collection of silver sticks that people put together.
Then I hope they cleaned them after they pulled them out of their asses.
I think too often it can be the silver ladder viewing us arrows as soldiers that they can point. And granted, I'm not a soldier, I'm a warrior. There's a big difference between the two.
What would you say that difference is?
A soldier follows orders. A warrior chooses what fights are his.
So it's a matter of following orders over pride and honor. Is that a good way to sum it up?
To a point. A boy goes into boot camp. He goes into boot camp a boy. In boot camp, you are brainwashed. And it is brainwashing. Into a killer. They breed soldiers. They tell you how to fire the gun and who to fire the gun at. So they breed soldiers. Veterans of war can become warriors. Because they've seen battle. They've seen the gruesomeness. They've taken a life. And taking a life changes you. And once that change takes place, is when you can go from a soldier to a warrior. Once you've taken a life and realized that whether or not you should take a life should be up to you and no one else. That's the biggest difference. I'm an arrow and I will defend what I'm supposed to defend. When it comes to killing another person, I do that when I deem it's necessary. There's no one on this earth who can tell me otherwise.
Not even the counselors?
I take a life when I deem it's necessary.
I respect people who stand by their convictions.
From what I've known of decisions of that nature, I've agreed with them. Most of the time, we see eye to eye. If a person is a threat to someone else's life, their life is forfeit. If a gunman were to walk in here right now and try to take someone's life, then his life has become forfeit, and I will take it. But if someone has fallen out of favor in a political game and someone maneuvers things to warrant their execution, I will not take that man's life.
That's bold.
Comes back with the drinks. What I miss?
We were just discussing where the silver and the silver ladder came from.
Oh,
I think the consensus is their ass, but I'm not sure on that.
what do you mean by that?
We were just making a joke about silver spoons
And silver sticks.
and silver sticks. And then silver ladders came up.
Looks at Alice.
It turned into a discussion about what's the difference between a warrior and a soldier and how no one can tell me to kill someone.
Not even the counselors and hierarch.
I only kill when necessary.
The first thing that we learn as mages is that we have control over the power that we wield. I can't tell you how to use that power.
They don't have to live with the consequences I do.
Which is why I prefer to be more subtle in my approaches.
Yes. As do I.
You get more with sugar than you do with gall. You could yell at someone and strike them and tell them to do a thing, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they'll go through with it, or that you yourself might not be caught up in the middle of a less than fortunate upheaval. The thing about power is to learn how to stay in power and keep it once you have it. Doesn't mean anything if you lose it. You just become a cautionary tale.
I have some senseis and shifus who would disagree with you.
My opinions don't need an amen.
It's more of, I guess, an inside joke. Some of those old martial arts movies about old Chinese men with long white beards beating their students for doing something wrong. Sometimes that's not all Hollywood. Sometimes that's actually real.
And this is why I don't go to martial arts dojos or worry about politics.
Oh,
Politics is everywhere.
the dojos in
And-
America are totally different. Totally different. Most of my education comes from more old school ways of teaching. When I make a dojo, it's going to be Americanized. one, it's business, and that's what makes money. And two,
No, civil action cases.
and two, the type of teaching that I was taught, would be illegal in this country.
Civil action cases.
So what about the politics?
I
What
don't
do
do
you-
politics.
What about politics?
Are politics really everywhere?
Yes, they are. Whether you choose to accept it or not, or engage in it or not, they still happen. Not making a decision is a decision.
I mean, in the end, even small dojos in China, where the Shifu's word is law, isn't that politics? Just a dictatorship. It's still politics.
Still make the choice to either follow or not.
Depends on what you get out of it.
It's still the politics of the situation. And sometimes in certain situations, there's more to lose by talking back. It's all about how you know the game. It's a subtle dance.
It's social dynamics. I get it. It's also what you're willing to pay.
There's a lot you have to pay, but living the life we live, we have all paid the price. So
True. We've all paid our dues in some way. There's always perks. Bruce Lee doesn't have anything on me.
Academia in the Mysterium is perhaps the best academia you could ever find yourself in.
what makes you say that?
Well, publish or perish, kill or be killed. But at the end of the day, you get to be Indiana Jones and you get to meet the Illuminati.
I respect your opinion.
You
I
did
think we're all
not.
victims to preconceived notions of other orders.
What he said.
Don't make me beat you with your silver stick. I know where you keep it.
Right, it's in his ass. We discussed this.
I mean, you're more than happy to find it later, I guess. I don't know.
Gross.
Stop making inappropriate jokes, then all of you looking at everyone.
You're the one making the inappropriate jokes. The rest of us are innocent.
Until proven guilty.
Or put in a setting where we're less innocent.
Don't tell me you were at the Four Chambers when whatever that orgy thing occurred.
No.
No, unfortunately.
No. There's certain things that I'm very on board for. Public fucking isn't one of them in any setting.
What did I miss?
Oh, the Four Chambers. It's one of the top 2 clubs in the city, and turns out there was just a sudden outburst of a giant orgy. They had to shut the place down for a few days.
Health violations?
Something. She's
Why-
just looking
Biohazard-
at Aries.
Biohazardous cleanup?
No, it's more has to do with like there's this thing called public indecency. That's very much so a thing.
Right. I understand. I'm from San Francisco, but that's a little too much even for me.
Now the only place open is Crosshairs. It's still great. But sometimes you want a little bit more
Clothing?
rave. Crosshairs isn't exactly the place you go to get naked. At least not when I've been there. She's just looking at Fire VJ.
Not when I've been there either.
I'm not a club head.
I was always too busy.
Should make up for it now.
Martial arts mastery is a lifetime goal.
Not sure what to say to that.
It's some old upbringing, I guess. I was raised Buddhist. Traditional Buddhism, they just believe that parties like that are temporary and therefore, in the end, unsatisfactory. They don't fulfill. It's just a distraction.
At that point, the only thing that matters then is knowledge.
There's some that would agree with you.
Knowledge is the only thing that's eternal.
I can see why you would think that, yeah.
I disagree. I think you
Everyone loves a rebel.
I think you can find fulfillment in something temporary. As long as you know it's temporary. I mean, it's not long-term fulfillment, but it's...
That's the idea. It's not... The feeling of pleasure and happiness is temporary. So, therefore, it is unfulfilling. But there are... so the whole stage of like nirvana is to try to find that state of permanence. It's a little contradictory in nature. It's kind of hard to understand to teach someone who doesn't really study it. Which is the belief that one reincarnates based on your karma. Some would say that karma or dharma, depending on what terminology you wish to use. But in the end, you rack up, kudos points or demerits or whatever. And how many of those you have depends on what you come back next. So that the reaching of the state of nirvana by kind of moving away from these temporary and therefore unfulfilling indulgences, one can reach a state of nirvana where you take yourself out of that karmic cycle.
Perhaps, but why cut yourself off from joy and pleasure? Just because they're temporary.
It's the same with any religion. I mean, really, you do so because in the end, there's a bigger reward, I guess. I mean, Christianity has very similar concepts. It's, be a good person, don't have premarital sex, and, you'll go to a place with angels and halos and happiness. And
see, that's why...
That's... What you're describing is one facet of a very... How should I explain? A very urbanized view of what faith is. But a lot of people leave that part out and think that if they just do good things and follow a set of laws that they'll wind up in a better circumstance. I mean,
I can't agree with either of you. I mean, why have religion at all? We know that the supernal is real, and that the abyss is real, and that there were Atlantean kings and ascended mages. Why worry about what the mortals believe?
I'm just gonna OSC preface this as you guys did this to yourselves.
Oh boy! I can't
Um,
wait to hear this.
Once you say that, my character kind of perks up. He goes, "Exactly. That is exactly right." And that nagged me for years. I learned Buddhism from my parents and from my grandparents, and then I looked at that, and it was very fulfilling, but it was missing something. There's something always missing. Christianity is the same thing. It was missing. Like the answer was there. It was hidden. That there's something blocking your view where you didn't have all the pieces. And then it's this nagging frustration that drills into your skull and numbs your soul. It's oh god, it was so crushing. And then you see it, the supernal, and then you realize you were staring at a puzzle, getting frustrated you couldn't solve it because you didn't have all the pieces. But now you can find them.
Well, I do believe that the pieces to the puzzle can be difficult. I also believe that not every mystery is supposed to be revealed as soon as you discover that there's a mystery.
Well, of course not. It's a lifelong journey, but
I guess is what I'm getting at is I'm a little content with the journey, not necessarily the destination.
I mean, but you shouldn't be. There's complacency and contentment.
Contentment?
Yes.
Or complacent?
There's complacency and when you feel content, you relax, and you're kind of happy where you are, and that's where you can stagnate. You have to push forward, always pushing forward, and that was so frustrating. Is that when the lie is shielding your eyes, you can't. There's a wall, and you can't push past it. And then something snaps, and you awaken, and you break through that barrier, and you can see that the answers are in front of you. You just have to grab them. You can never be discontent. Always reaching, always grabbing. And that is why being immoral must be being just a regular person, someone who's just sleeping and can't see, or has got to be.
You sound offended. You didn't know.
It's just how it was for me, I guess.
No, I'm not doubting your journey. I'm just saying that I sort of believe that my path and the constant moving that I was making was always going to. I never doubted the hand that was pushing me down the path that I was in. I was more. I was more. Content isn't the right word. I was more. The answers that I was given satisfied me enough that I was able to keep moving, in despite of the things that didn't quite make sense. I suppose the recklessness and the threads that I started tugging at led to a more violent eruption of what I was looking for quicker. But learning, I think I'm catching up with myself, if that makes sense.
It does. Though I will say, Mr. Yi, that you would have made a great member of the Mysterium.
I think you would have made a great member of the Free Council.
Oh, don't say such horrible things.
I think that is
eccentric.
From my discussions with others of The same people who went to the same watchtower. It's very similar. There's always it's incredibly frustrating to want to better yourself and to hit that wall when your entire existence is predicated on your advancement, of always getting better, of always improving, and then you know that the answer is right out of your grasp. And it's almost to the point that life isn't worth living anymore because what you need is just out of your reach. And to deal with that deadening of complacency, and then to have that spark that shatters all your preconceived notions, and then you become what we are. And it was violent, explosive, and painful, and glorious, and fulfilling. And to think that there are others, the mortal religion is wrong because they don't have all the pieces, and it's not their fault that they don't have all the answers, and that you can always find failure in logic, loopholes. It's because they can never have the answer. Ever. Because in the end, they're blind. There's always a wall.
I think the blindness that you're talking about is extremely subjective to the person. Some people are simply satisfied with the lives that they're living. Not to say that I think there's something different in each person that walks. That there was something about the path that you were walking that just wasn't sufficient. However, wanting to even daring to be something more than you were yesterday, I believe is definitely a step. But in the terms of majors, I just think we chose to run instead of walk. But we'll all get those answers eventually.
If we can continue gathering information and preventing the lie from destroying it all, then yes. For with the ultimate knowledge, we will become eternal.
Maybe you're right. But
maybe that's how you reach your nirvana.
the lie is pretty damn powerful.
It's not insurmountable.
And
No,
I
it
don't even think it's a lie.
Especially if we could harness its power for ourselves. What better way to open people's eyes to the truth than to show them that the things that they find so mundane are more supernal than they realize.
Well, I can't argue with the results. Well,
but like you said earlier, it's about discipline and commitment to your goals that will lead you to where you're supposed to be. Most people don't have the attention span to find what they're looking for.
Especially nowadays where everything's about instant gratification and what I can get right now.
Exactly.
Me, now.
Oh, the best secrets take time and effort to pry out, she says, just kind of as she says that, like, puts both of her hands and just massages the side of Aries' head for a moment.
Yeah.
Why be beholden to other people's ideals? Live the life you want to live.
Aren't you beholden to the ideals if you're shifting through all the dross of the lie?
Mm.
You sort of walked into that when she led you.
I mean, I was gonna say that because if everyone were to live the life that they wanted, then this world would be chaos.
The ideals that I choose to uphold, I uphold by my choice. No one coerced me into it. No one forces me to fall in line with their vision of what we are supposed to be.
So no one had any influence on you whatsoever.
No, they've had influence and they've helped me shape my beliefs. But at the end of the day, it's my choice that matters. Do you know what I mean?
It depends. How do you know that you made the choice of your own volition, or if the choice was made for you in advance? Unless you can see the lines that guide us all. Once you can see behind the curtain.
It's not really a curtain, more of a thin veil. Most people just sort of swat at it. You have to make a conscious decision to walk through
I
and be
don't
prepared to deal with the answers that you get on the other side.
I believe in connections. I don't believe fate is as concrete a concept as it's something that is influenced by our choices. I guess you could say I don't believe things are fated, but I believe that certain things are inevitable.
I agree.
And yet, right now, if I were to look forward, I could tell you everything that was going to happen. Or wasn't.
But then my knowing those things may change whether or not they happen.
It's a ripple pushing against the wake of a boat. It did happen, but you can't overcome the, I guess, velocity, the kinetic energy. Sure, you could know and you could make a small impact, but it doesn't change the outcome. The only way to change the outcome is to manipulate the entire variable or put up a new poster in front of the curtain.
Oh, they changed it.
The future always in motion. It is.
Suppose you told me that after I left here, I would be struck by a car. I had been planning on walking home, but instead, to avoid being struck by a car, I call for a cab. Now, that cab could very well be the car that strikes me. Or I could get into the cab and not be struck by a car. Or the cab could be struck by a car.
All right, I'll let that one slide because I am a bad example. If I tell you you're going to get hit by a car, well, it was nice knowing you. And I apologize to the car.
But as you yourself, Alice, already know, by letting someone know that something's going to happen, you've intrinsically changed the course of fate because now the choice is entered and another path is divergent from the one that you were already walking.
Only if you're looking at the strings of fate in and of themselves. But you have to remember everything that flows through the river of time. So combining the two together, you end up with,
A headache.
Exactly.
not for me, it's all straightforward. I mean, 5 minutes from now, 10 minutes ago, it's all the same.
I think I see what you're getting at.
No, I don't. It's like looking at the TV too long, you see white dots, and those dots don't mean anything.
But they mean everything. I mean, why do you think I'm always looking at you? Because I can see moments ahead and I'm seeing moments behind all at the same time.
So, dude, doped out crack fiends. I don't think they've reached nirvana. I think they just simply had too much crack. I mean,
You would be surprised if you could see what I could see right now.
that is indeed true. That
So
is
says the
indeed
crack fiend.
So says the crack fiend who just somehow has never been touched by a single bullet in a firefight ever.
There's some truth to that. And it's almost so
Just because you haven't been
happenstance.
struck by a bullet doesn't make you bulletproof.
That's a very true statement.
But you're functionally so if you're never hit. If you can go your entire life without being hit by a bullet, isn't that bulletproof? Because
No,
you chose in such a way or took the actions necessary for the bullets to never be able to strike you?
because you've never been hit doesn't make you invincible.
Don't I know it?
And
She quirks a brow.
oftentimes when you tempt fate, it oftentimes laughs harder at you.
I agree. For anyone who's not a witch.
Point taken.
I guess the point I'm making is just because you haven't been hit doesn't mean you can't be. And to assume you can't be is the height of folly.
One only assumes that which we can prove empirically. When you're in the Mysterium, you have to be able to measure, quantify, and justify through experimentation, controls, etc. With the proper application of magic, one could become bulletproof. I'm not saying that I am, but I'm also saying that I couldn't one day be. Personally, I prefer to just discover what's going to come next.
Falling through life and rolling around at the speed of light isn't the way I choose to live my life.
If you really want to never get hit by a bullet, then don't ever get around a gun.
Abstinence is the best kind of safe sex, so they said in school.
I was raised in Texas, so no arguments for me. I mean, I grew up in Austin, so
They say abstinence is the best kind of safe sex, but they don't necessarily teach you how to actually have sex safely. That's the downfall.
And don't I know it? He looks around awkwardly.
let's cut to the heart of it. They don't teach you how to have sex, period.
They do not.
Where did it happen? I'll take it.
There's something to be said for learning what you like on your own.
That obvious joke, but
Yeah, there's nothing like fumbling around awkwardly your first time to make you feel like a real man.
Or a real woman, for that matter.
Hey, hormones.
Well, at least the math is pretty straightforward.
And sex? What the fuck? Like, looks at her weirdly.
Your 1 goes into her 0.
There's the obvious joke.
It takes 2. At least.
And other math puns.
Just don't try to divide by 0.
Uh-oh.
Just FYI, the sex is also considered one of those temporary amounts of pleasure that are a distraction.
I don't care. I like sex.
No argument here. I said I was raised Buddhist, not that I'm a Buddhist monk.
Oh, that would have been interesting if you were some sort of priest.
Priests have the most sex. They just usually don't talk about it or lie about it. We hear about it in confession.
However temporary it is, for a moment, with the right person, you can achieve something like enlightenment.
Oh, tantric magic.
Oh, God.
I think she was equating orgasm to feelings of nirvana.
That's what I thought she was getting at. You're just being weird looking at us.
And that is exactly why they teach you to stay away from those temporary feelings.
I feel like you have caused me to send Alice in school.
Wait, you're still Catholic?
Yes. Happily.
So if I wore a schoolgirl outfit,
Yes.
This
okay,
conversation just got weird.
it got weird for me too.
Do you
You
have
only,
one?
you only have yourself to blame.
I only have. You're right. This
You went down this, and now we're stumbling around at the speed of light.
Ariel, this is not how you normally answer the words coming out of my mouth.
No. Here now. So do you have a schoolgirl outfit?
I mean, no. She says, pulling herself fully upright.
And that answers that question. Me watching you squirm.
I'll admit you caught me by surprise. I'm not.
Oh, so all that time is backwards and forwards and upside down is, bullshit, right?
Watching the Strands of Fate, you didn't see that one coming?
I don't always watch the Strands of Fate. Sometimes like I said earlier, I like to be surprised.
Are you surprised?
We're surprised.
I'm regretting allowing myself to. She just looks at him. Everything happens for a reason.
You'll boop her nose.
Normally, you're more predictable. That.
Oh, am I?
Yeah.
Mm-mm. I think we're finding out that was a lie because look at you now.
Well, like Zabanya would say, or was saying earlier, she was gravely concerned
about me. I'm fine. I'm living life.
Okay, when a guardian says, I am gravely concerned about something,
yeah. And I listened to her concerns, and I answered them.
you also left her in a blue screen of death.
That wasn't of my doing. Because she blue screened, I can't like not fix the blue screen. You know what I mean?
Considering I know Zavanya so well, yes.
People change. And people deal with their traumas the way they need to.
She looks him up and down. I guess so. So she says, looking back at the other two. I believe that this has been a fun conversation for the two of us, and I hope the same for you too.
Sure, I love a good comedy.
Farah will reach into her bag and hand a card over to Zen. If you need to get in contact, or, you know, when you open up that dojo, give me a call.
Oh,
I'm
right.
definitely interested.
You know where the frat house is, right?
I'm aware.
Not you.
I could find them. Quick Google search.
No. He hands you like a card. And he says, this is where we all hang out. So
Okay.
come by. Say hello sometime.
And if you ever want to invite us out to that disc golf course, I'm sure that our investigation agency would be more than happy to show up.
Are you asking me out again, Alice?
I don't know. Are you going to ask me out?
I don't know. Are you?
Are you?
Are you gonna? I don't know. You tumbling backwards and forwards. What's the answer?
Well, one of the two of you
went
asked
first.
the other person out already?
Like, Jesus, come on.
Well, if we're waiting for Jesus, we're going to be here for a little long.
Really? Low blow.
I can go lower.
Can you now? In a schoolgirl outfit?
Do you think you could handle it?
We'll find out. I love challenges.
She just shakes her head at that. Well, if you want to ever ask, I'm all here.
Well, I know what I'm doing after this. So, anything else you two want to talk about? Looking at Yi and Fire Vitae.
No, I think I'm pretty tapped out now.
Fair enough.
Same.
Alright, so can I call you a cab, Alice?
I thought you were going to drive me home.
I don't drive anywhere. I have money.
She just shakes her head at that. Which is why you should get a car.
For what? I can allow myself certain luxuries.
Well, I'm not a high-paid lawyer. I am a secretary, she says as they start getting up.
He offers an arm.
And she'll take it. And I think that's a good stopping point.
Yep.
Zien will give out his cell phone number to the three of them.
He'll take it.
All right. In that case, and so ends another game of Mage the Awakening. Thank you, players, for playing. Thank you, watchers, for watching. Have a great evening.